Hi, I'm Steve Canton, producer of the Beanie Lover video, and your host of this important video, How to Spot Counterfeit Beanie Babies. They have been featured in numerous publications and magazines, as well as on countless TV and radio talk shows across the country. I'm proud to have them join with us today. Please welcome Becky Phillips and Becky Essensaro.
It's good to be here. Hi, nice to meet you.
It's great to have you here, too. Also with us today is the leading expert on oddities, mistags, and counterfeit beanies. She is the feature writer for the Beanie Mom website, primary writer for the Beanie Collector magazine, a contributing author to the Beanie Mania book, co-author of the bi-monthly Beanie Mania Bulletin.
Hello everybody, I'm Jen Ives. This is the podcast Lobotomy World. That's what you're watching right now, Lobotomy World. And I hope you've had a lovely week. I have had a very nice week for two reasons. Last week, well, I guess technically we're talking about last week here, I was at a wedding in Dublin, and it was a good, close personal friend of mine. She was getting married to her wife, and it was now wife, was girlfriend slash fiance, now wife. Did you know that two women can get married legally? I had no idea. I was shocked. The whole time I was sitting there and I was thinking, sorry, where's the groom? Sorry, when does the groom come out? And they were like, no, Jen, it's two women getting married. And I was like, how does that work then? And they were like, well, you know, this is quite a modern time and, you know, women can get married to each other now. And I was just like, okay then. But it was lovely, you know, I enjoyed the cake. I enjoyed the dinner. There was a dinner. And I enjoyed all the music they were playing. So for me, I'm going to say 10 out of 10. Weddings, I think I spoke about this last time, maybe weddings are much better when the people that are getting married are people that you actually like and not just random family members who like, it's like big deal. You know, big deal. What do I care? Okay, so the family's getting bigger. Who cares? You know, but when it's friends and you actually feel happy for them, I don't know, it's kind of crazy. And the other reason why I'm really ecstatically happy I am. I'm not. But one thing that made me happier. No, let's just say I'm ecstatically happy because I got a Labubu. A Labubu. If you're only listening, you can't see, but there's a Labubu in my hands. Now listen, okay, before anyone comments and says anything snarky about my Labubu, I know it's fake. Okay, I am more than aware of the level of fakeness of my Labubu. Okay? I've never held a real Labubu, I've never seen a real Labubu, but I know a fake when I see it. Now, I didn't go out of my way to buy this Labubu, okay? I'm going to put it down now, because I'll give you a good look at it. But I'm going to put it down. Now, I didn't go out of my way to purchase the Labubu. My boyfriend ordered it for me, because he is nice and he listens to me when I speak. And I was probably going on about how much I love these Labubus and how fascinated I am with them and how I'm aware that it's kind of a little bit cringe and like it's kind of dumb and yes, it's consumerist nonsense, but also, you know, I have an overwhelming urge to acquire small pieces of crap. That's just something that is intrinsically built into my personality. I love little toys, little trinkets, little key rings. You know, I love claw games. I'm actually not bad at them. I win them frequently when I play them. Not that I play them frequently, but when I do play them, I do win them. And, you know, Labubus, there's a lot of talk at the moment about they suck, you know, they're rubbish. Like, people are talking about Labubus in much the same way that people talked about Coldplay. And I don't know if I've shared my opinions on Coldplay before, but I'm going to say it. The first two Coldplay albums, those albums could easily have been, you know, the first two Radiohead albums. They're good albums. with good songs, and it's when Coldplay were kind of mysterious and you were like, oh, they're a cool band. But then they, as time went on, they became more kind of generic, and they sort of more like Christian stadium rock, and they sound a little bit more like U2. And, I mean, I don't hate Coldplay. I'm not one of these like performative Coldplay haters, but I will say that I'm not big on the new sound. But there's a lot of bands like that I don't particularly like their new sound. When I was a teenager, I was very much into Foals, the band Foals. I was big into that. I was like, oh, what is this like twinky twonky kind of sounding indie rock, but with a kind of math rock edge and, weird shouty vocals. I was like, I like this. So those first two or three albums, I was like, yeah, this band is sick. And then over time, they started to change and started to sound more like, again, like kind of generic, more like stadium-ish rock. And I was like, okay, I don't really like this anymore. But I support bands and people and whatevers who change. Just because I don't necessarily like what they've changed into, it doesn't take away the old stuff that's there, and I can still enjoy it and still be nostalgic for that old time. But anyway, the point I make has got nothing to do with that. I'm just saying that, like, Labubus, at the end of the day, whatever you think about them, at the end of the day, a Labubu is just a quirky, fun little guy, really. I think the main appeal of the Labubu is that it's cute, kind of, it's got like a Furby-ishness to it, but also it's mischievous. It's got kind of a grimace going on. And I like that its little hands and stuff can stand up. And I like the fact that it's in a costume. It's almost like we don't actually know what a Labubu really looks like, because Labubu's always in costume. In a lot of ways, it more so resembles... I don't know if you've ever seen the Aphex Twin music video for Donkey Rhubarb. It kind of looks like that. So anyway, I made it quite clear. I made it known verbally, outwardly, to my boyfriend at various stages that, hey, I'm kind of on board with this Labubu thing. I'm kind of switched in. I'm kind of morbidly fascinated by it, at the very least. And so my boyfriend went out drunk one night. No, he didn't go out drunk. He went out on the piss with his boys. And I stayed at home and he got drunk. And then he came home and he was a bit drunk. And in a drunken ramble, he told me, he outed himself. He told me that he had bought me a Labubu. And I think he told me when he was drunk because his inhibitions were down and he wanted some praise. And I gave it to him. I said, wow, yeah, thank you so much. I can't wait to get it. Then in the morning, he did not remember that he had told me that he had bought me a Labubu. And he was annoyed at himself that he had spoiled the secret himself, because it was supposed to be a nice surprise for me. And then the big problem for him really is that now that I knew that there was a Labubu on the way, I was excited. I kept saying to him, where the hell is my Labubu? And then I asked him, I said, how much did you pay for it? And he said it was $9.99. And I was like, well, that's definitely fake, like 100% fake. Now listen, then I was more excited. Then I felt okay about it, because then I was like, well, I probably wasn't ever going to buy a Labubu, but now you've ordered me a fake one. That makes it even more fun. It's like we can look at it and see, how fake is it? I like fake stuff. I think he really got the clue that it was fake because he ordered it on eBay. But then it was like, well, sometimes when you order something on eBay, you then get the notification saying that where it's coming from, and the user that he had ordered it from, it was like Alibaba, I think. No, Alibaba, AliExpress. It was AliExpress. So you know, that confirms it. But it came, and I think it is a good fake. Like, I've seen worse fakes. In fact, me and Chrissy went out yesterday into central London, and I'm telling you, it was Saturday in central London, and the whole country here has Labubu fever, and it's very serious. Like, people are dying of it. But every kind of you know, you have a lot of those like tat shops in London that sell like dumb tourism memorabilia and stuff. A lot of them had just walls of Labubus, unboxed, just out like this, just hanging up like that. And you know, you don't want one of those, because you want the experience of unboxing it, even if you are aware that it is a fake. But I'm not joking, I think there's a Pop Mart in central London somewhere. I didn't know where it was. It must be near Leicester Square. It must be near Chinatown or something. But there were Labubu boxes all over the pavement. Like, when you walk down from Tottenham Court Road down towards the sort of Soho area, there was just Labubu boxes everywhere. So, and listen, I'm not contributing to that. I'm not saying like it's a good thing. I acknowledge that capitalism is out of control, and I acknowledge that, you know, the mass production of tat, probably in sweatshops or, you know, whatever, it's not positive. It's not a good thing. But at the same time, look at it. It's I love the colours. Now, the box was slightly faded. I remember saying that straight off the bat. I was like, this is a good clue. And then I looked up, like, what are some defining features? Apparently the ears are supposed to be different colours, not the same colour. And I'm not sure, but I think it might be slightly smaller. But other than that, you know, they've done a pretty good job. There's some bad printing on the cheeks. I don't know if it shows up, but look, I like having it around, you know. I like having it around. It's kind of a comfort to me. We've had it by the television. It kind of watches us while we watch TV. It's kind of like a little bit of a god, really, a totem. And look, people are going crazy about Labubus, both positively and negatively. I see a lot of posts online about how Labubus are demonic. But, you know, these days, a lot of Christians, particularly in America, they're very quick to call something demonic. Something just has to have a slightly frowny face or a slight bit of sinisterness to it, and it's demonic, you know? And you want to say, come on, hun, not everything's demonic, okay? Some things are just a little bit ghoulish. That's not demonic. You know the type I'm talking about. These people that don't celebrate Halloween. These people that think a pumpkin is satanic. It's like, all right, like, if you're scared of a Labubu, then you got a problem. You got a serious problem. Either you're a baby, like a literal baby, or you got a serious problem. I'm pro Labubu. I mean, look, it's socially acceptable to be a Disney adult these days, isn't it? I was talking to my boyfriend about this. You know, these Disney adults they have. There's all this discourse about, like, oh, leave them alone, you know, they're not hurting anybody. They just like these little Disney characters. Well, who would you think has contributed more to mass capitalism, shady activities, horrible business dealings, you know, Nazi affiliations, etc., than Disney? Disney, in my opinion, sucks. I'm not a fan of Disney. Never have been, particularly. I like a couple of films, but I don't like their practices. Who do you think's worse, Disney or Labubu? As far as I can see, these Labubus, these Monchichis, these Tamagotchis, they're not doing that much harm. No more than anyone else out there. People, do you know what? I think actually at the end of the day, people just don't like things that are cute. You know, there's still a lot of misogyny out there. There's still a lot of, I don't know, like, just posturing, really. If you like a cute thing, that's fine. And at the end of the day, it's just a big key ring. People hang these on their bags. I felt the temptation to hang it on my bag, but I didn't, I don't have it as a flex. Even though I'm flexing it hard now, I have been honest with you and told you that it is as fake as hell. But I don't feel that desire to put it on my bag and wear it out in the street. Predominantly because someone might steal it, someone might mistake it for the real deal and snatch it off me, and I can't go through that trauma. I've bonded with it, I've paired with it. We have aligned. To lose the Labubu now would be devastating, because I never thought I'd own one, fake or otherwise. And people get funny about fake stuff. I don't think there's anything wrong with fake stuff. I remember I was watching House of Gucci recently, the film, and I'll be honest with you, I only got halfway through and we had to turn it off because it is bad, and not in like a good way, not in like a showgirls way. It's not camp in the right ways. It pains me to say because I love Mother Gaga. I love Mother, and she is very good in it, I think. I think she's probably one of the better things of the film. I think if the film was in better hands, I love Ridley Scott, but like, the guy he's not attuned into camp so much. He can do the Blade Runner stuff, and he can do the Alien whatever stuff, but the campness, I don't know. But there is a scene in House of Gucci. Hello, welcome to House of Gucci. Sorry. There is a scene where they're talking about the fake bags, and the Al Pacino character says, it's fine. If a housewife wants to believe or wants to pretend that she's got a Gucci bag, I salute, God bless her. And that's how I feel when it comes to Labubu. I can have the Labubu experience, but at an extremely low cost, a criminally low cost even, an embarrassingly low cost. And listen, you've probably got fakes and you don't even know it. eBay is home of the fake products. Oh, you think your battery that you bought for your camera is real? Okay. Oh, you think that, what do people buy on eBay? You thought that Beanie Baby that you've been saving for the longest time, because you think it's worth money? You think that's real? Do you know how easy it is to fake a Beanie Baby? We were faking Beanie Babies in primary school. Pokemon cards, they're all fake. Even the real ones are fake. That's how easy fakes are. I think it's fine, ultimately. Sometimes when I'm in the newsagents and I buy like a Dr. Pepper or something, sometimes I will look at the packaging of it and I'll be like, is this imported or is this just fake? It could be fake. But then you taste it and you go, there's no fake in that. There's no fake in Dr. Pepper. When I drink Dr. Pepper, I know. I'm a bit of a Dr. Pepper hound, actually. I love it. I think, ethics aside, all that other stuff, let's not get into the conversation about, what these companies do, like Disney and Coke and all that kind of stuff. Just from a purely flavor-based perspective, let's, on a neutral ground, in a utopian society where we're not boycotting anything, or, just a neutral society where we're just judging these things purely on the quality of them and their taste. Dr. Pepper's got to be the best, right? You don't want any other drink. Coke tastes like puke compared to Dr. Pepper. Pepsi, I prefer to Coke, but again, if you're lining it up with Dr. Pepper, it's no competition. I call Dr. Pepper the good doctor. And Dr. Pepper is my registered GP, in fact. And Dr. Pepper always supplies hormones to me. Anyway, let's get on to some of this news. There's a bit of a theme on some of it. I thought it would be fun, to start talking about the Labubu because it would lead very well into what I want to talk about today, which is this Sylvanian family's drama. There's an account on TikTok, and I also think Instagram, and, unless it's not been mirrored or something. But there's this account called Sylvanian Drama, and I'm sure you've seen it. It's been around a while. Now, what it is, if you don't know what a Sylvanian family is, they started in the 80s. I did a bit of research. They're a Japanese toy from 1985. And what they essentially are is they're a tiny little fuzzy anthropomorphic humanized animal, usually some sort of mouse or hamster or cat or otter. It's that sort of genre of animal. A lot of rodents. And you would buy them. There's like hundreds of them available, maybe more than that, I don't know. There's just tons of them. You buy them individually or as like a little family set, and then you'd see them in Toys R Us. Toys R Us they would have a whole section, a whole aisle on Sylvanian families. And you could buy their houses, like dollhouse. It's essentially doll houses, but with an animal twist. You could buy their cars, and you can buy their pool house, and you could buy, all this stuff. It really is Stepford Wife-esque, 2.4 straight family dynamics. It's family toys, and they're great. They're a great toy. They're fun to look at. They're fun to own. They're fun to feel. They are fun. And when I was a kid, a little repressed, secretly trans kid, I wanted Sylvanian families bad. I wanted them more than anything. I remember I would go around my cousin's house, Emily and Trudy, shout out, and they would have Sylvanian families. They had a big Sylvanian family set, and if I could get to play with that, I would be over the moon, and I would think, I wish I had this. Not that I didn't have nice toys and stuff. I had Lego, and I wasn't deprived, okay? But up here, I was deprived. I wanted Sylvanian gosh darn families, and I wanted it more than anything. So now as an adult, I have some Sylvanian families. Not a lot. I have a four-pack family. I have a dad, a mum, a little boy, little girl. And again, they were bought for me by my boyfriend after me probably verbalizing this a lot to him and his long-suffering situation. And these days, I don't play with them. I don't sit on the floor and make up little games with them. They're on display. Unboxed. I'm not a collector. I'm not into all that nonsense. I'm not saving them for profit. They're not an investment. They're just little totems that I own in order to heal parts of my childhood, I suppose. I'm sure a psychologist would have a field day about it. But this account, this TikTok account called Sylvanian Drama, you may have seen them. They are short videos where this person has taken the little figures and makes little diorama, little videos, little episodic, soap opera-esque episodes. You know, you have recurring characters, you have drama, that's why it's called Sylvanian drama. It's very, you know, Desperate Housewives. It's very heightened, it's very funny. I'm a big fan of it. I used to be subscribed to it when I had TikTok before I deleted it because it was stressing me out. But you know, they drive around in cars and there are murders that happen. Some of the Sylvanians kill other Sylvanians, and there's romances and mysteries, and it, you know, it's lending a lot from soap opera stuff. It's lending a lot from telenovela. It's that sort of vibe. And it's just a bit of fun. But here's the thing, okay? The Japanese maker of these toys, Epoch Company Limited, they filed a copyright infringement case in the US saying the videos are causing irreparable injury to its reputation. Now, this company was launched in 1995, and 1985 even. That's a long time ago. I mean, they've been around, you know. So I don't really understand how somebody making some silly stop motion videos can really do too much for the reputation. Now, when I read about this, it kind of pissed me off, to be honest with you. It kind of annoyed me because as far as I was aware, when you buy toys, no matter what your age is, when you buy a toy, that's your toy. And you have a right, as long as it's, you know, not hurting anybody physically, you have a right to do with that toy whatever you like. I could buy Sylvanian Family and tie it to a rocket and like a firework and blow it up, and that's my right. You know, it's not a sacred item. It's not, you know, legal tender. You're allowed to do whatever the heck you want with it. And that includes filming a goofy little video where two Sylvanians kiss and then one gets shot and then one goes to prison or whatever. It's a game. It's a silliness. And it's naive to sue somebody for this is completely naive, because if anything, you might not like to have your brand associated with certain themes. Okay, I understand that. But to say that it's doing irreparable damage to your brand is ridiculous, because if anything, it's making it relevant again. It's bringing it back. Sylvanian Families, it's beloved to a degree, but let's be honest. It's not Pokemon. You know, it's not Beanie Babies. Maybe it is Beanie Babies. Beanie Babies isn't... People aren't bothered so much about that now. But it's not PS5. It's not the Switch. It's not Minecraft. It's not Fortnite. People aren't going crazy for Sylvanians right now. Toys R Us shut down. It's a bit niche. So if you've got somebody who's putting it out there and making it desirable again, you should be kissing this person's feet, metaphorically. So I've got here the owner of the TikTok account, Thea von Engelbrechten. I hope I'm saying that right. I'm sorry if I'm not. It's a great name. Thea von Engelbrechten. From Ireland, which I was surprised to read. I thought this person must be German or something. But I guess even if you are German, you can be living in Ireland. That's not a problem. Thea von Engelbrechten from Ireland filed a counter notice claiming her works were parody. And I love that. You know, we got to fight back against big Sylvanian families and the like. You can't have these corporations coming out dictating what you can and can't do with their little toys. Once you sell a toy, it just becomes a little prop. I mean, back in the day, back in the 90s, Adam and Joe were putting it on television. They were taking little toys and they were making little parodies with them. And, you've seen it, the Adam and Joe show. Look it up. It was a great show. They did little Star Wars parodies with Star Wars toys. They didn't have George Lucas knocking on their door saying, you can't put this on TV. Because guess what? The toys, they belong to you when you buy them. If I wanted to, I should be able to buy the Toy Story toys and, make my own Toy Story film with them where all the toys get in a big sex cult and then drink Kool-Aid and pass over and go to hell. I should be able to make that, and in theory I should be able to put that on the internet and no one should have any problem with it. So I'm on this girl's side, this Thea von Engelbrechten. Court documents filed by Epoch with the Southern District of New York. This I don't understand. I don't understand why they have to go through America. That confuses me. I'm not a legal mind. I don't have a legal brain. So maybe someone can, elucidate me on this. But they're a Japanese company. She's an Irish person. But they've gone through the District of New York on the 4th of July. On the 4th of July, no less. Independence Day. And these documents have been seen by the BBC, apparently, and they accuse Miss von Engelbrechten of infringing the company's copyright without its permission, causing, as I said, irreparable injury to its goodwill and reputation. I don't think anyone's going to see the furry little rodents and go, oh yeah, I remember when that one beheaded that other one. Most people are going to see it and go, I'm a child. I'm literally a little baby and I want to put that in my mouth. Is that going to become illegal? Is that going to become suable? This baby put its pooey little hands on our Sylvanian families and put it in its mouth, and that's ruining the reputation of Sylvanian families. I don't know. So there's a quote from her. There's a couple of quotes here that I have from Thea von Engelbrechten. She says that she was really inspired by her cats because they're extremely sassy and self-obsessed and can be so cute. But they also have no morals when it comes to killing other animals. I try to embody that with the Sylvanians. See, she's actually saying something. She's actually making something of an interesting point, because, and I'm saying this with a completely straight face because I know my tone often comes across as too ironic. I know sometimes the way I talk, it's very dry. I come across as like, what does Jen think about this thing? I'm telling you with a straight face here, I do believe that what she does, Thea von Engelbrecht, and I think her videos are a form of art. Now, you can talk about like, oh, is it good art? Is it bad art? Whatever. I don't care. It's art media. She is repurposing something and she is making statements through it. In the same way that, you know, the Karen Carpenter story. Have you heard of that? The Karen Carpenter story? Who directed it? It was Tom, what's his name, wasn't it? The Karen Carpenter story. Do you know Karen Carpenter? She was an incredible drummer. And she unfortunately got very ill and died. But there is a movie called The Karen Carpenter... Is it this one? The Karen Carpenter story... it's called Superstar, The Karen Carpenter Story, and it's by Todd Haynes. You know, Todd Haynes, he's directed a lot of things, a lot of big movies, but this one, he made this film entirely with Barbie dolls. And again, you can make arguments about, is it in good taste, is it in bad taste, whatever. The point is, this is a real movie that I believe he had legal troubles with as well. But what I'm saying is that people regard this now as a work of art, a cult work of art, but that's what it was. And that's what these Sylvanian family things are. And I think Epoch, the Sylvanian family company, I think they're actually just doing themselves a massive disservice, really, because they're not embracing it. They're not taking on the meme. And when a company doesn't do that, they expose themselves as being not cool, as being boring and outside of the zeitgeist. Now that is something that will bring down your reputation. That is something that will make people think, forget Sylvanian families, they're not cool. She is making a statement through her videos that the way that we anthropomorphize things is fundamentally dishonest. And actually, animals, as cute as they are, we have to remember that they are instinctive killers. Anyone who's owned a cat knows this. I had cats once. Came home once. There was blood all over the walls. And genuinely, I thought, this was when I lived with my ex, I thought she had been killed. Okay? And yes, I'm bisexual, okay? I know what you're thinking. Get over it. Anyway, my ex I thought she'd been killed. I thought she'd been murdered. What had actually happened is she wasn't in at all. And one of my cats had caught a bird and thrown it around and torn it to pieces inside our flat. And there was blood all up the walls. And when she came home, I was on my hands and knees with a bucket of soapy water cleaning blood off the walls. What must she have thought? She must have thought she bloody was with Jeffrey Dahmer or someone. Rose West. I said, listen, it was the cats. And it was. And don't ask me if the bird was okay. I'm guessing it got eaten because I couldn't find it anywhere. I looked. I didn't hear any distress noises. If I had have done, I would have done something about it. I'm very good with that kind of thing. Once, when I lived in Brighton, I had this long double shift in my care job that I did. See, I'm caring. And I was coming home, it was late at night, and on my wall outside my flat, this is when I lived on my own, there was a seagull sitting on the wall. And I was like, that's weird. I've never seen that before. Like, you see seagulls all the time, and most often than not, it's within the context of them being annoying, jarring creatures that everybody hates. Once a seagull flew. I was eating chips on Brighton Pier, which is a big mistake, because a seagull flew into my face. Not like, there's a seagull in front of my face. It collided with my face. And you don't realise how big those things are until they physically strike you. Its wingspan was incredibly intimidating, and its face was like moving around in my face. Like, it nearly gave me a nosebleed. It was a traumatic event. So I don't really like seagulls. There was a seagull nest outside our window as well, and it used to squawk and squawk and squawk in the morning. They suck. They're a stupid bird. But this was a baby seagull, a young not a baby, but like a adolescent seagull. And it was sitting on the wall in a kind of weird manner, like the way you don't really see a seagull sitting. And it wouldn't move. It would put its head up and go, and someone had put a little dish next to it with cat food on it, cat food or dog food or something. And I was like, why has someone done that? So, and I could see the bird, there's something wrong with it. It wasn't well. Someone had seen it and also identified that there was something wrong with it. It wasn't well. But they had elected to give it some cat food. What I did is I phoned the RSPCA, or I think it was the RSPCA. I think I Googled, like, who should I phone? And I phoned them. And I said, like, what do I do? This bird's not well. Can someone come out and get it? Come look after it? Or I don't know what you do with it. And they were basically like, not really. There's not really anything we can do. And I was shocked by that. I was like, what do you mean there's nothing you can do? It's a sick animal. Come help it. And they were like, we can't really. They were like, can you look after it? And I was like, what do you mean, can I look after it? And they were like, well, can you bring it indoors? And I was like, you want me to bring a seagull into my rented flat? They were like, yeah. So I was like, okay. So I got a box that out of my, an old sewing machine box that I had. I got it out of my flat. And then I was like, well, I've never picked up a seagull before. I don't really know how to do this. So I went back to work because it was just around the corner, this care home. And I got some, like, rubber gloves, latex gloves, and I put them on. And I just went for it. I picked up this seagull. And it didn't care. It didn't seem like it was in pain. It just seemed really unwell. And I put it in the box. And then I looked up what they eat, and I can't remember what it was, but I found some, whatever it was, I can't remember. And I put it in the box, and I put a little dish of water in there, and I brought it into the living room, and I put it in there. And then the whole night, I did kind of struggle to sleep because I was worried. Like, you would hear it, like, rustling a little bit, and I'd check on it every now and then. But I was worried that, like, the seagull was going to burst out of the box in the middle of the night. Because you know what animals are like. They're unpredictable. Sometimes they just pretend. Sometimes they're just having an off day. I didn't want to bring a seagull in and then have it burst into the flat, and then there's a seagull flying around in my studio flat, tiny studio flat. What do you do? Luckily, that didn't happen. It didn't burst out. It was well behaved over the night. Unfortunately, the reason for that was that it died in there. And, you know, it was horrible. It's just sad. And I didn't have it, like, locked away. Like, the box was open. It could have got out if it wanted to. But I'm just, like, it died because it was ill. It had an unknown seagull disease or something, or had been hurt. I'm not a seagull doctor. I suppose what gave me comfort was to know that I at least gave this seagull a nice environment to pass away in. I gave it warmth, I gave it food. But then I had a dead seagull in my flat. So I phoned them back, these people, this charity that I was liaising with, who weren't the most helpful, to be honest with you. And I said to them, what do I do with a seagull corpse? And they said, can you bury it? And I said, what the hell do you mean? Where am I supposed to bury it? And they said, do you have a garden? I said, no, I don't have a garden. I'm poor. I'm a care worker. I live in a studio flat. I said I could go down to the beach and bury it under some stones. And they were like, no, you can't do that. So I was like, well, what do I do? And they were like, well, this isn't very nice, but unfortunately, all you can really do is double bag it and throw it in a dustbin. So I, in the most dignified possible way, that's what I did. And that was a bit of a tangent, but that is the saga of the seagull that I cared for. My one night with a seagull. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, this Sylvanian family stuff. So another quote from her says, maybe it's because it's coming from the voice of a 22-year-old who struggles with the same things as they do. She's referring to why people like her content so much, her Sylvanian drama content. I have a lot of storylines about insecure people, diet culture, toxic men, and sustainability, which I think other girls my age are also thinking a lot about. And I think that's true, you know, I think that's why the videos have an appeal. It's very, like, she does them in a way that are very relevant, approachable for people on TikTok. And, you know, I'm not going to go so far as to say they have a positive message. A lot of these videos involve cars running people over, people getting their heads cut off, etc. But we should not be discouraging young people from expressing themselves in what I think is an entirely healthy and funny way. So it says here, a date has been set for the 14th of August for a pre-trial conference. This is when legal teams from both sides meet to explore settlement options or prepare the case for trial. If she has to pay any money or go to trial, I'm going to be so upset. I'm already upset about this. I think it's disgraceful. And I don't think we should stand for it, quite frankly. We should be able to do whatever we like with our Sylvanian families. And you know what? In solidarity to what's her name? In solidarity to Thea von Engelbrechten, I am going to direct you to my own short film about the Sylvanian families using my Sylvanian family toys as a protest to this ridiculous lawsuit against Thea von Engelbrechten.
So, what brings you to my Labubu talent agency? You've got a audition to show me?
Hello, Mr. Labubu. We have an audition for you for a new family act or show that we're gonna do. Can we audition for you?
Please do audition for me. Do the show. Show me what it's all about.
Okay, so listen to this. First, I start to kiss my wife like kiss, kiss, kiss. Then I start to hump. We do hump. And we're doing it in front of everybody. No, Mom and Dad, what are you doing? And stop it, that's disgusting. We cannot look. And then I'm gonna grab my son like this and throw him. And then jump on his head 1,000,000 times, like that. Jump on him 1,000,000 times till he's dead. And then my daughter, I can get my wife to go to my daughter. And my daughter and my wife are gonna have a suicide pact and jump off the bridge. We won't do it now because we have saved it for the real show. And then imagine all that. Everyone is dead. And it's really violent and disgusting, pushing boundaries of gross things and such.
Wow, that's a hell of an act. What do you call it?
We call it the Mouse Aristocrats of Sylvanian families. Okay, bye.
And I also encourage others, if they want to, if they feel like this is not just, if they feel like this is an affront to creativity and toy-based culture, cute little trinket culture that I'm an advocate for. If you would like to also make your own little silly short film in protest to Epoch, the evil Sylvanian Families Company, then you can do that. And stay strong, Thea, you know? Don't let the bastards grind you down. We need to support each other. All of us who love dumb little disposable pieces of crap. We need to stand with each other and support. So I'm going to research, see if there's any way we can support Thea. But for now, the support should be something like this, I guess. They can't sue all of us, can they? I hope not, anyway. Well, thanks for joining me for another episode of Lobotomy World. Thank you to my patrons, as usual, and thank you to the members on YouTube. And thanks to everybody who has subscribed recently. We're still rising. If you don't know, I do a members episode every week also. So this podcast isn't actually over. There's a whole other 40 minutes to an hour that if you're just a regular chump, you don't have access to. If you become a member or a Patreon, you will have access to the other half of this podcast. So why do you not do that? Do that. It's good. It's a good podcast, right? I'm going to talk about loads of other issues. I'm going to talk about loads of things that I've watched and loads of other opinions on things. So think about it. If not though, I hope you have a nice rest of your week, and I will, I guess, see you next week. Goodbye.